Okay, so in the previous video we discussed how to UV map this plant with all one UV map for the entire object. So I have three different pieces to this object that are instanced around. So I have the leaves, I have the stems, and then I have the bottom kind of leaves in a star-shaped pattern. And they're all UV mapped together. So when I drag select everything, the unwrapped UVW modifier was applied to all of these objects at the same time. And when I open up the editor, here's what the UVs look like. So I've already went to UV template and exported the UVs out. So what we're going to do is go into Photoshop and we're going to texture this. So when I go to File, I'm just going to open up my UV set. Desktop. Good. And I'm going to open up those UVs. So I exported this out as a PNG file. So I'm going to save this layer as UVs. I'm going to open up a new layer. Call this one background. I'm just going to fill this with maybe a black background so you can see the white lines. So the UVs are actually on a separate layer. They have a transparent background so I can texture this. So the two type of texture maps that we're going to do are going to be the basic diffuse map and then an opacity map, because I do want some of these areas to be semi-transparent. Some of the leaves, I don't want it to have the full leaf shape here, so I'm going to cut out some areas. And the same thing with the bottom kind of leaf-like shape on the bottom of the plant. The stem is going to be all opaque, and then some areas are going to be completely transparent, while other areas are going to be maybe semi-transparent. Okay, so first off, let's just create base fill layers. And this is going to be more of an alien plant design, so we're going to choose like an orange color, some of the base, and then we'll do orange and blue maybe. Okay, so the stem is just going to be a base color, so we can just fill all this in. And this step is going to be sped up just for the sake of time. So we will stop the audio here and come back and talk about the opacity map version of this here in a little bit. Okay, so I think that's at least a good start to the UV map and the texture portion of it. Still a lot more work we can do, but at least we can get a start here. For the diffuse map. Okay, so for the diffuse map, what we're going to do is go to File, Save As. We're going to save it as a PNG file as well. We're going to call this one Plant 1 Diffuse. Okay, no layers, or as a copy as well. Excuse me. Okay, so no compression. We want it to be as large as we can. Okay, so for diffuse map, what we're going to do is actually make some areas transparent while other areas are going to be opaque. So like the stem, we're going to keep most of that opaque, or the whole thing opaque. We're going to do some opacity with the leaf and some opacity with the bottom section as well. It's really going to make it so we don't have to have that much more modeling geometry, polygonal geometry on the surface back in Max, but with using the opacity map as a texture. So let's go ahead and pull in the diffuse map that we just created into 3ds Max. I'm going to go to a new material, tell this one Plant 1, and we're going to hit the map button for diffuse, use bitmap, and we're going to go find our file here. So alien plant, and then here's our diffuse. Okay, so we're going to select everything since they all have the same UV map, and we're going to apply it to that object, and then I'm going to hold down left click on the show standard map and go to the show realistic map. This gives a better representation of what the texture could look like. So also what we're going to do is make sure two-sided is turned on, because we do have some planar surfaces and it's only rendering from one side, if you can go ahead and see that right there. So let's turn on two-sided, give it a second to reload, so that way we can see the texture from both sides. So we have a pretty good start here of the texture, but what we're going to do is add some more detail by taking some parts out with an opacity map. Okay, so back in Photoshop, what I can do is take these layers that I just created and create a group for them. We're going to call this one the diffuse group. And what I'm going to do is hold down Alt and copy that area over, that whole group over. We're going to call this one opacity. So this isn't the only way to do this, but this is definitely an easy way. So what I'm going to do first is we need to think about what areas should be opaque and what areas should be transparent. So to start off with, what we're going to do is we're just going to have everything opaque as far as being completely white, and then everything else behind it as far as the background is going to be black. Then we're going to start cutting the areas out that we want to be completely transparent and then semi-transparent. Okay, so all of these areas really need to be white, because in the opacity map, white is opaque, black is transparent. So I don't need some of these other smaller layers. What I really just need is just the basic color. So what I'm going to do is just hold down Control and click on all of the previews here. This one actually can be deleted there. Layer can be deleted. So let's hold down Control and select and Shift and select on all of the previews, which will allow me to get the whole shapes of everything. So what I'm going to do for one layer is, let's just create a new layer here, and I'm going to fill this with white. So let's say fill with white. So these areas are going to be completely opaque. The background is going to be completely transparent. So some of these areas, what I'm going to do is actually excuse me, cut out some of the areas so that it does look like it does have some transparency to that. So let's do an eraser. And I don't really need these other layers anymore, because I just have this one opacity layer. So let's copy this, or call this opacity base. I don't really need anything else on top of this, but what I do want to incorporate is maybe I'm turning down the opacity here of the layer just so that I can see through it. I'll pull that back up later. But with the eraser tool, I'm going to come in and start erasing some areas out. So I don't need this to be the complete opacity. So I'm just going to start cutting some areas out. And I think what we'll do is actually just speed this area up to save some time. So we'll come back when I have some areas cut out to make it look like it's more of like a leaf-like structure instead of the whole shape of the polygons. So we'll come back when this is finished. Okay, so what we've done is actually create an opacity map, which is the white values are always going to be opaque, black values are going to be transparent. If I turn off my UVs layer, what we're going to do is actually be able to see that I have made some areas that are semi-transparent, as in grays. So mid-tone grays are going to be semi-transparent due to the brightness of that gray. Whites are going to be opaque, so it's going to create a nice little detailed shape inside the polygonal shapes. So I've cut out areas of the leaf and on the inside so you can see through them, but there will be opaque areas also. So what we're going to do now is actually just going to save this out as its own file to File Save As. This is going to be a PNG file as well. Instead of Plant Diffuse, we're going to call this one Plant Opacity. Okay, so no layers, no, or as a copy, no alpha. Okay, so no compression. We're going to move back into 3ds Max. And what we're going to do is actually go to the material editor, and instead of the diffuse, we're going to map this to the opacity node. So right here where it says no, none, we're going to click on that and click bitmap, and then find our opacity channel. Okay, so the moment I click this go to parent button, it should go ahead and kind of remap this to my plant, and you should be able to see, as long as we have two-sided turned on, there's going to be some areas of semi-transparency, which are down here. So the leaves are kind of fading out. They're semi-transparent in areas. Turn the grid off so maybe you can see that. And turn my material editor off as well. Still have the opaque stem, and most of my leaves are going to be completely opaque, but they will have some transparent areas. Let me turn on my wireframe so you can still see where the lines are, but the opacity map is taking out the areas that are going to be black and making those transparent while keeping all the white areas opaque. So that's what's really nice about opacity maps, is we can add a lot of detail that doesn't require us to actually have to model that detail on there. So there was some pretty good detail with the leaves and even the bottom brush shapes down here that are semi-transparent. It's a nice, interesting alien plant design. Alright, that'll wrap it up for this video as far as texturing a plant with the diffuse and opacity map.